Hey, I'm Geeky Pastimes, and I've just been playing Call of Duty Vanguard for the first time with the Champion Hill alpha that's running on PlayStation right now. In this video, you're going to see some gameplay, and you're also going to get my impressions on the things I like and the things I didn't like so much. So let's start off with the positives, the best things about this game. First of all, the gunplay. I think the guns feel really good. They feel very different from the guns that we've had in the last couple of Call of Duty games. It's going to make the Warzone integration really interesting, but some of them, like the Tommy gun for example, feel really good, really solid. They all seem quite interesting, like they all have their own quirks. The recoil's really different on each of them. They look really cool. They look really huge on the screen. I'm not sure if that's just because the field of view is a little bit lower and you can't change it at the moment, but it looks really cool to me. The sniper rifles feel really clunky, and I hate using them, but I think that's quite a good thing because I like the idea of sniper rifles being slow, being a bit more difficult to move around with, and so you have to kind of set up and choose your position and stuff like that. I'm not a big fan of people like jumping around and quick scoping and things like that. Like, I would prefer it to be a bit on the clunkier side. The machine guns as well, the LMGs, feel like absolute beasts. Like, they tear through the map, and with like little bits of destruction and stuff like that, it's crazy what they can do. So I'm a big fan of the weapons so far. I really like the ones that we've seen. I want to play with them more. There's still a couple of guns I haven't used. The shotguns still feel a bit clunky and stuff like that, but generally I'm really enjoying them. One thing I don't like about it is the suppressor sound on the sniper rifles. The Kar 98 has this, you can get a suppressor on, it's one of the first attachments that you get. I don't like it. It sounds like really, you know, it's like a little, it's like, it's almost like, you know, John Wick when they put the suppressors on the pistols. Everyone knows by now that, like, that's not how suppressors work, like, that's not what suppressors sound like, but it really does sound like incredibly, like, it's an incredibly quiet sound when you have a suppressor on it, which doesn't feel right when you've got a massive rifle. One of the other things I like are the maps. The maps are really cool. So you might know, if you've seen anything about this, that there's one big map and it's kind of got 4 different combat areas in them. They're all super different. There's like one that's kind of a market, one that's an airfield, one that's like a train yard. They feel very different. They've got some really interesting verticality. There's some bits you can climb up on that enemies might not expect. The destructible walls are obviously a gimmick. Like, it's not like there's loads of destruction across it. It's just kind of the doors, bits of them can be blown off, and then there's these walls with individual planks that can be shot out. It feels a little bit like Siege. You know how in Siege you know some walls can be destroyed and you know they'll break apart in a certain way. And like, yeah, it's not particularly realistic, but it leads to some interesting gameplay moments when it's like you can break open a bit of it, which will expose you but will also give you like a really good view on the enemy. And sometimes you'll see an enemy through some gaps in the wall and you shoot them through it. It feels really cool. And also, one thing that's really interesting about this Champion Hill mode is that the map stays kind of consistent across the entire tournament, or whatever you want to call it. And that means that, like, by the end of it, pretty much all of the destructible stuff has gone. So the maps feel really different then compared to at the beginning. And I really like that. I think that's really interesting. I think it's cool. The maps all feel really good to me. Like, I like all of them and they play so differently. I think that's very cool. Also, the actual game mode is really good, I think. Champion Hill feels a lot like Gunfight, and Gunfight was something I loved, and I particularly loved the Gunfight tournaments. And this feels like they've taken the Gunfight tournaments, taken out all the loading, all the messing around, all of the waiting around, and made it really fast. The buying system seems really good, like that seems really interesting, and there's already kind of, you can start to see metas emerging and things that are worth buying and things that aren't worth buying. I think it's really cool. I really wish with the last 2 games that Gunfight had been something they'd picked up with for CDL, like maybe as like an offshoot of the main thing, but just having some of the people playing Gunfight together, because I think it's a really fun thing to watch. I like spectating in Champion Hill. I think it's a really like interesting thing. It's quite a lot easier to follow than a 6v6 game. So I'd like to see them push this a lot more, and hopefully if Champion Hill does well, that's something that will happen in future. Now, on some of the negatives about this, so some of the things that I haven't liked so much from what I've played of it, and I've only played it for like an hour, so you know, these are really early impressions. First of all, the graphics don't look great. I don't think it looks any better than the last couple of Call of Duty games, and it could be partly because of the map. You know, there's no amazing vistas, there's like, the map's quite small, there's not really any interesting lighting or anything like that going on with it. It just feels like the other Call of Duty games. It doesn't feel like a big jump forwards. I assume this will probably be the last of the cross-gen Call of Duties, like this will be the last one that's coming out on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and I wonder how much that's held them back. But yeah, I'm definitely sort of tempering my expectations now for the full game about how good the game will look. And obviously graphics aren't everything, but it is always nice when you get a shiny new game for it to actually look shiny and new, rather than just kind of a different art style, rather than any sort of new technical stuff. The grenade throwing and the gun swapping are something else that I'm not so I'm not much a fan of. Now, in general, the whole game feels a little bit clunky. Like, the movement feels a bit clunky, the movement feels a bit slow, and I haven't put that on my good or bad list because I'm just not sure about it. I'm undecided about it. It feels different for sure. It feels a lot more like Sledgehammer's World War II, more than Modern Warfare and Black Ops Cold War to me. Now, I like it in some ways because it makes you feel a bit more connected to the map, and I think that's a really good thing. It makes you feel a lot more grounded. You feel like an actual person. You feel like you've got some weight and stuff like that. But in terms of gameplay, sometimes it doesn't feel like you can do stuff that you can normally do in Call of Duty. So, for example, I got the shotgun. I sort of started leveling that up, like, you know, upgrading it. I've used both of them now, the sort of self-loading one and the rotating barrel one. And obviously with a shotgun, a lot of the time, you want to be able to switch to it quickly or switch away from it quickly. And you just can't in this. Like, when you switch away from the shotgun, the other gun, you have to sort of go through an animation of getting it ready and stuff, and it takes forever. It really, really does feel like a massive pain to swap weapons. And that will obviously discourage people from swapping weapons, so it means you're going to spend a lot more time just using one weapon all the time, which isn't as interesting, I don't think. Similarly, when you throw grenades and stuns, it feels like the animation takes ages to do, to the point where it's super dangerous to throw them. It might help stop some grenade spam and stuff like that, but right now, sort of my first impressions of it are that this is more frustrating than anything. It just feels a bit too slow. There's also a bit of a lack of feedback for some things. Like, the big one that we've noticed already is if your team has run out of lives, so you're the last person left, your teammate can't respawn or anything, and then you pick up the respawn token. That should be quite a big deal, because then you've just brought your teammate back into the game. And there's no feedback for that at all. You don't notice it's happened at all, unless you're on voice comms and you can hear them say something. Loads of time I was doing it and I didn't notice that he was coming back at all. So it'd be nice if there was a bit more feedback on stuff like that. When you get kills, I think that's pretty good, and there's a nice little ding sound when you hit them in the head. It's good when you're shooting people through a wall, you get a good sense that you're doing that. It's just the kind of the sort of other stuff that's going on in the game mode. There are some really cool things, like when another team gets knocked out, there's actually fireworks that go off in a distance, and I quite like that. I think that's quite cool. Overall, my thoughts are that I really like this mode. Like, I think the fact that they started the alpha with this mode, that they started the sort of testing of this mode, is something that I really like, because I'm a sucker for this kind of thing. I love the tournament style thing. I love the kind of small 2v2, 3v3 thing. I think that's really, really cool. I do have my slight worries that it's not going to feel like as much of a jump as maybe I was hoping for and other people were expecting. Even things like you go into the menu and there's people walking in the same way that there have been in Black Ops Cold War. There's some new angles and stuff, but it feels a bit too similar to the games we've been playing over the last 2 years. It doesn't feel as fresh and new as maybe I would like. But it does feel good. And, you know, I wasn't a big fan of World War II. I wasn't a big fan of Sledgehammer's World War II. When I heard the sort of rumours and stuff, the leaks, that this was going to be a World War II game, I was a little bit disappointed. But I think with the guns and stuff, they're definitely doing a good job. And the mode is really cool. I think this will definitely be a fun Call of Duty. But time will tell whether it feels like enough of a change to make something interesting. I am going to do a load more videos over the weekend about this, so maybe we'll do some about sort of some of the kill streaks, maybe some about the different guns and things like that. I'm going to play it a load more, twitch.tv/Geeky Pastimes. Check me out there. I want to play a bunch because I want to see a bloody V2, even if I can't earn it myself, because it's like 25 grand. It's a load of money to get the V2 rocket, but I really want to see one in a game. So I'm going to be playing loads more. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of it? Have you played it so far? What do you think from watching it? Is it a fun game to watch? Do you like the Champion Hill thing? And what videos would you like to see? Do you want to see sort of a breakdown of the weapons, of the score streaks, of the, kill streaks, the perks? What sort of things do you want to see content about? That would really, really help me out. So thank you very much and goodbye.